After this Youth Power Dance Fest, we'll be having the Youth Power Duo Flair Tending. Continuous
Ano yung
po
duo
tayo.
Flair tending?
Actually, it all started with bartending. Alam niyo po ba yung sa bar?
Sa bar?
Diba, nagsaserve lang sila.
Tsaka yung bar, chocolate bar? No? Ay, hindi, iba
Kit Kat?
ba? Oh, Kit Kat,
Chocolate bar?
sponsor talaga, no?
Ay, grabe.
Wala bang chocolate dyan?
Have a break! Have a... Wow, syempre, pasalamatan din natin, Sterling. Mamaya, papasalamatan natin lahat ng sponsors
At
natin.
syempre, ang number one brand ng generation ngayon, yung Dickies t-shirt, di ba?
Dickies, may bunny pa tayo.
Mamaya.
Sige, mamaya, tutuloy natin
Okay.
yan. After that duo flair ending, meron tayong concert. Actually, we're going to announce the winners and we have a concert. Meron tayong mga guests like XY Kids,
Okay, Miss Isa Calzado, you know her?
B-Boy Ramirez,
Karil! And of course, nandito na siya. Kaway naman dyan, Mr. Sherwin Ordonez.
All right. Andyan pa ba kayo?
Handa na ba kayo para sa susunod nating activity?
Alam namin na kanina pa tayo excited, kanina pa mula umaga. Okay. At ngayon, para makilala natin ang gusto ang ating susunod na speaker, allow us to introduce our distinguished speaker for this afternoon to talk about entrepreneurial strategies, opportunities, and challenges for the aspiring entrepreneur. Yes, Carl?
Our guest speaker was born to humble beginnings in Moriones, Tondo, Manila on December 13, 1949. His mother, Curita Bamba, came from Pampanga and Bataan. His father, Manuel Montalvan Villar Sr., hailed from Iloilo.
The second of 9 children, he started selling seafood at the Divisoria Market at an early age.
As a working student, he was able to put himself to school, finishing his studies at the University of the Philippines, where he earned his bachelor's degree and master's degree in business administration.
He also went on to establish one of the most successful property development firms in the region.
He was featured in international publications such as the Far Eastern Economic Review, Asia Week, Asia Money, and Asian Business Review.
He also received several awards, including the 10 Outstanding Young Man in 1986, Agora Award for Marketing Management in 1989, Most Outstanding CPA by the Institute of Certified Public Accountants in 1990, and Most Outstanding UP Alumnus in 1991.
In 1992, he entered politics and was elected Congressman of Las Piñas for 3 terms in a row, consistently posting landslide victories. On his 3rd term, he was chosen Speaker of the House of Representatives.
He was elected Senator of the Republic in the year 2001. He has held the position of Senate President pro tempore, the second highest post in the higher chamber. He is presently chairman of the Committee on Finance and the Committee on Public Order and Illegal Drugs.
In the Senate, he has filed important pieces of legislation such as the National Student Loan Program for the Poor Act, the Digital Education Act, and the Entrepreneurial Education Promotion Act, to name a few.
His vision is to uplift the lives of Filipinos by improving the state of agriculture in the country and creating more entrepreneurs to revive the economy.
In 2004, he was elected President of the Nacionalista Party, the country's grandest political party. He was also named the most distinguished alumnus, the highest recognition given by the University of the Philippines for his exemplary public service and achievements. Let us please welcome
Mr. Sipe Enchaga, Senator Manny Villar.
Magandang hapon sa inyo lahat. At kayo na nakikinig ako dito sa... Bayaan mo na, teka muna, babatiin ko muna itong ating mga kasamahan dito. Nandito si Ian. At of course, yung aking kasama na taga-Tondo rin. Pareho kaming laki sa hirap dito. Pareho kaming nagsumikap. Pareho kami nagtsaga. Ito si Arnold. At itong ating isang bisita rin, si Annalisa. Ang ating mga student delegates sa Cagayan Valley, Quezon, Los Baños, Misamis, Metro Manila, sa Cavite, Tawi-Tawi, Hulo, Rizal. Napakarami pala naman nating pinanggalingan. Magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat. Ang naibigay po sa akin topic ngayon ay entrepreneurship o yung pagninegosyo, pagsasarili. Alam niyo, maraming tatanong sa akin kung bakit daw tayo ay mahirap. Kung bakit daw hindi umaasenso ang ating bayan. 50 years ago, mahirap na ang bayan natin. Katatandaan ko noon. Subalit hanggang ngayon, after 50 years, mahirap pa din tayo. Sa aking palagay, ang kadahilanan dito ay ang ating kultura ay biased against entrepreneurship o yung pagsasarili. Hindi sa atin itinuturo ng ating sistema, ng ating kultura, yung pagsasarili. At yan, hindi ko malaman kung bakit. I do not know why this happened. I do not know whether this is a result of 300 years of Spanish rule, 40 years of American rule, 4 years of Japanese rule, but we like to serve. Gustong-gusto nating manilbihan. Sinasabi sa atin ng ating mga magulang na tayo mag-aral na mabuti para tayo makahanap ng trabaho. Sinasabi natin sa ating mga anak, kayo wala pa mga anak, sinasabi sa inyo ng mga nanay nyo, mag-aral kayo mabuti para makahanap kayo ng trabaho. At sasabihin ninyo sa inyong mga anak, mag-aral silang mabuti para sila makahanap ng trabaho. My dear students, maliwanag na nasama sa ating kultura, sa ating kaisipan, na tayo mga Pilipino ay pang trabaho lamang. And that is why we have become a nation of employees. We like to serve. It was inculcated in our minds that we Filipinos cannot stand on our own. Hindi tayo pwede magsarili. Tayo dapat lamang manilbihan. Kaya maski kayo sa eskwelahan, I'm sure iniisip ninyo saan kayo magtatrabaho pagkatapos ninyong gumraduate. Yan, nakita ko yan nung ako nagtitinda ng isda sa palengke. Kasama ko yan si taga-Tondo kami ni Igan eh. Pareho kami nagsumikap. Ako nung bata ako, pinanganak ako dito sa Moriones, Tondo. Nagtitinda ako ng isda sa Divisoria. Nakita ko yan, 11 taong gulang ako, sumasama ako sa aking nanay. Bumibili kami ng 2 banyerang hipon tuwing alas 11 ng gabi. Titinda ko yan hanggang umaga. Doon ko nakita kung paano ang kaibahan ng mga Chinese sa Pilipinos. Kung bakit umaasenso mga Chinese at hindi ang mga Pilipinos. Diyan ko nakita sapagkat tinatanong ko yung mga kasamahan ko doon ng Chinese. Alam nyo sila, pag tinatanong ko yung mga natitinda na isda doon ng mga Chinese, Filipinos, sinasabi nila sa akin, alam mo Manny, balang araw, lalaki rin ako, balang araw ako magiging pinakamalaking tindero ng puto rito sa Divisoria. Balang araw ako magiging pinakamalaking tindero ng puto sa Maynila. Balang araw ako magiging pinakamalaking tindero ng puto sa buong Pilipinas. Nangangarap sila. Subalit, pagka tinatanong ko yung mga kapwa ko Pinoy, sasabihin sa akin, alam mo, Manny, makapag-aral lamang ang aking mga anak, ako'y magre-retiro na. Hindi man lang nagbabalak na palakihin yung kanilang mga negosyo. Walang balak na, hindi nangangarap kung hindi mapagtapos lamang ang mga anak. Wala namang masama dyan. Hindi masama na mapagtapos natin ang ating mga anak. There is nothing wrong with seeing to it that our children graduate, except that Hindi naman pwede tumbayan natin lahat na lamang magiging empleyado. Kaya nakita nyo ba na ang ating mga pinakamamahal na mga OFW, maaaring some of them, mga magulang ninyo, minamahal po natin sila, pero magtataka kayo na 8 milyon ang Pilipino sa labas ng bansa. Lahat sila ay nagtatrabaho. Bakit ang Pilipino automatically paglabas ng bansa o pag-graduate, naghahanap ng trabaho? Bakit ang mga Chinese naghahanap ng maninegosyo? Kaya doon sa ating labas ng bansa, pag pumunta ka sa Japan, sa Amerika, wala ka makikita ng Filipino town. Puro meron lang Chinatown, Vietnamese town, Korea town. Dahilan sa ang mga Pilipino nagtatrabaho. Nalagay sa ating isipan na tayo mga Pilipino ay talagang hindi pwedeng magsarili. Sa Pilipino, sasabihin sa iyo ng Pilipino, sasabihin sa iyo ng mga magulang, oy, 30 anyos ka na, wala ka pang trabaho. Ano ka ba naman? Pero sa mga Chinese Filipinos, sasabihin sa iyo, ano ka ba naman, 30 anyos ka na, wala ka pang sarili mong negosyo. Ibang-iba ang kultura nila. Kaya sila'y payaman ng payaman. Tinuturuan nila kanilang mga anak na magsarili. Nilalagay nila sa isipan ng kanilang mga kabataan na balang araw kayo'y dapat magsarili. Hindi kayo dapat manilbihan habang buhay. At dahilan dyan sa kultura na yan, tayo pahirap ng pahirap. Hindi nalalagay sa ating isipan na tayo pwedeng umasenso, na tayo pwedeng yumaman, para sinasabi natin na tayo mahirap lamang, wala ng pag-asa umasenso. Kaya ako mga kaibigan, noong ako'y nagsisimula pa lamang, noong edad ko'y 25 anyos, nagsimula ako ng maliit na hanap buhay, nagtitinda ako ng gravel and sand. Nakita ko yung nagdi-deliver ako ng graba, buhangin. Nakita ko noon na napakaraming hindi makabili ng bahay. Tinatanong ko sa kanila, bakit hindi kayo makabili ng bahay? Ang sinasabi sa akin, kasi wala kaming pandown na malaki. So naisip ko, bakit na lamang hindi gumawa ako ng bahay na maliliit? Ang sabi sa akin, 25 anyos ako, lahat na makausap ko, Manny, huwag kang pumayag dyan, huwag kang pumasok dyan, malulugi ka lang. Hindi ka kikita dyan. Walang Pilipinong bibili ng maliliit na bahay. Hindi pwede yan. Mabuti na lang matigas ang aking ulo. Pumasok pa rin ako. At alam nyo, tinitinda ko yung bahay ko noon. Naisip ko, gumawa ko ng maliit na bahay. Maganda ka akong negosyo to, mura lang, maliit na bahay. Pagamat lahat, pinipigil ako. Tuloy pa rin ako. Binenta ko yung mga bahay ko, ang tawag ko sa kanila, romantic models. Nagtitinda ako na ganyan, no? Pagka tinatanong, Manny, bakit naman romantic model ang tawag mo sa mga bahay mo? Kasi alam nyo, maliliit yung bahay ko. At talaga namang sa liit dito, maghapon kayo mag-asawa, magtitingin na lang. At saka isa pa sa liit itong bahay na ito, hindi pwede makitirain yung mga biyanan. Kaya naman naubos yan. At sa ngayon po ay yung ating pong maliit na pinagsimulan ay naging pinakamalaki po na kumpanya ng pabahay sa Pilipinas. Subalit nung magsisimula ako noon, napakarami kong nakita na kamalian na sana nanghihinayang ako. Doon sa tinanong ko na isang Chinese na tindero, tinanong ko sa Pinoy na tindero, ako'y nagpapasalamat ng aking sinundang halimbawa, ang sinundang kong direksyon, ang sinundang kong landas ay ang Chinese-Filipino na nagsabi sa akin na dapat ikaw ay mangarap, dapat ikaw ay mag-ambisyon, na huwag putulin ng pangarap pag ang anak ay nakapag-aral na, kundi ituloy mo at mangarap kang lumaki. Sapagkat doon ko nakita mga kasama na napakasarap pala na nagsasarili. Alam niyo ba, sasabihin ko sa inyo ang mga sikreto kung bakit masarap ang magnegosyo. Sapagkat sa pagdinegosyo, hindi mo kailangan magaling ka. Sino rito matatalino? Ang konti lang. Tamang-tama yan. Sapagkat sa pagdinegosyo, hindi mo kailangan ng matalino. Ito ang pagkakataon ng mga bobo. Sapagkat dito walang algebra, walang trigonometry, walang philosophy, walang biology, walang physics. Hindi ba napakasaya dito? Arithmetic lang. Bibili ka ng piso, bebenta mo ng 2 piso. Kaya yung mga may hina ang grades, huwag kayong mawawalan ng pag-asa, pwede kayong maging negosyanteng Pinoy. Sapagkat ang karamihan ng nagiging negosyanteng Pinoy, yung mga mababa ang grades sa kolehiyo. Yung mga undergraduates, yan ang nagiging professor. Subalit, biro nyo yan. Kung kayo naman, arithmetic lang, hindi nyo ba alam? Talagang mababa ang grade nyo. Huwag pa rin kayo mawawalan ng pag-asa sapagkat talagang pag kayo napakababa ng grades, huwag kayo mawawalan ng pag-asa, pwede pa kayo maging politiko, hindi kayo mahalata. Sapagkat sa politika, ang mahalaga lang, magkapapahalata, mukha ka lang magaling, okay ka na. Hindi na nagkakahalataan yan. Baka maging presidente ka pa. Marami nagtatanong sa akin, Mr. Senator, paano kami magninegosyo? Wala naman kaming puhunan. Wala ho kaming pera. Hindi ba nakakatakot yan? Ang sinasabi ko naman, kung ikaw ay walang pera, ikaw ang dapat maging negosyante Pinoy. Sapagkat pagka wala ka ng pera, wala na mawawala sa iyo. If you have nothing to lose. Marami ba rito walang pera? Okay. Napakarami ng potential negosyante Pinoy dito. Sapagkat isipin nyo yan. Pag kayo, kaysa isipin nyo na wala kayong pera, therefore wala na akong pag-asa maging negosyante Pinoy, baliktarin nyo. Ilagay nyo naman, wala akong pera. Ang sabi ni Senator Manny Villar, ako ang perfect na negosyante Pinoy. Ano mawawala sa akin? Kaya huwag kayo mawawalan ng pag-asa. At saka pag talagang, sabi ko nga, kung ano man ang inyong ginagawa, hindi kayo magtagumpay, larangan man ng politika, larangan ng negosyo, at all times, huwag kang papahalata. Kung hindi ka man magaling, hindi ka matalino, basta huwag ka lang mapahalata. Marami nagsasabi sa akin, hindi ho ba ang pagnenegosyo huli na? Hindi ho ba lahat ng negosyo na imbento na? Nagawa na lahat ng negosyo, wala na ho kami maisip. Mali ho yan. Sapagkat doon kami, bata paniigan, ang kape, 2 klase lamang. Ang kape, tatanungin ka lang, ano gusto mong kape? May gatas ba o may asukal? Ngayon, pag bumili ka ng kape, nakakalito na. Tatanungin ka na ngayon, pagbili ka ng kape, ano gusto mong kape? Macchiato, latte, espresso, frappuccino. Ang sasagot mo naman, yung sinabi mo una. Ayan. Sapagkat di ka dapat papalata. Hindi ba? Hindi. Parang tsa din. Dati, pabili ka ng tsa. Ayan. Ngayon, di na pwede yan. Nakakatakot na bumili ng tsa ngayon. Sapagkat pag bumili ka ng tsa ngayon, tatanungin ka na kagad, anong klaseng tsa ang gusto mo? Chamomile, Earl Grey, green tea, napakarami niyan. Pagka medyo nalito ka na, sasabihin mo, yung sinabi mo una. Ayan. Maski di dabay. Panahon namin niligan, 2 lang yan, pandisa lamang yan, saka, ewan ko, inabot na yung Panamericano. Natanda ako dito ngayon hindi. Hindi ka na pwede ngayon. Pagbili mo na sandwich ngayon tatanungin ka na, anong klaseng bread? Sourdough bread, rye bread, white bread? Nako. Basta tatandaan nyo ito. Huwag kayong pahuhuli ng buhay dyan. Pag kayo tinanong at di nagkakaalaman, sinabi mo una. Yan. Eh ngayon nakakatawa eh. Pag sumimpli ka na, sinabi mo, pag nalito ka, hindi bale, tubig na lang. Tatanungin ka rin, anong klase yung tubig? Ako. Kaya hindi bale. The lesson here is this. We are seeing a lot of changes around us. Yung mga produkto na dati, isa lamang, nababago na. Dati gulaman at sago, simple lamang, tinitinda sa kanto. Ngayon, ang dami ng klase sago. May mga flavor na. Napakarami ng flavor ng ice cream. Halos lahat ng produkto kay sapatos. Ang dati, sapatos, puti lamang. Subalit ngayon, na sapatos, napakarami ng kulay ng sapatos. Iba-iba ng klase. Dati, pagbili mo ng sapatos, ano hong hinahanap yung sapatos? Digoma ba o balat? Ngayon, di ho. Pagka tinanong ka ngayon, ano gusto mo sapatos? Pag sinabi mo rubber shoes, ano ba ang gagawin nyo? Basketball, volleyball, cycling, football? Lalakad ka ba? Poporba ka lang? Talaga ba tatakbo ka? O palilitrato ka lang? Iba-iba ang kulay niyan. Nakita nyo all around you. Dito lamang. Pag pupunta ka rito, ang daming trade fair. Ang daming mga paninda. Bubuksan mo lamang ang iyong mata sa pagkakataon. Huwag mo lamang isasara, magugulat ka sa dami na iyong pwedeng gawin. Huwag niyong iisipin na kayo'y kailangan lamang maging empleyado habang buhay. Kung kayo'y mahirap, okay lamang yan. Magsimula ka muna, magtrabaho ka muna. Ba't pag-aralan mo? Mag-aral ka. Pag-aralan mo yung iyong pinagtatrabahuhan. Huwag ka magtrabaho sa masyadong malaking kumpanya. Wala ka matututuhan doon. Magtrabaho kasi sa maliit na kumpanya. Pag-aralan mo at balang araw magsarili ka. A-attend ka ng mga trade fair. Magpapasyal-pasyal ka dyan. Magtitigin-tigin ka. Bubuksan mo iyong mata. Huwag ka magmamadali. Okay lamang yan. Basic lamang yan. Darating din ang iyong pagkakataon. At I'm telling you, my dear friends, I'm telling you, iba ang pakiramdam ng nagsasarili. It's really nice to have this kind of feeling, this intrinsic satisfaction of being your own, on your own, of being the master of your fate, the captain of your destiny. Napakaganda po na ikaw ay nagsasarili. Ikaw ang gumagawa ng iyong kinabukasan. Ibang-iba ang satisfaction niyan. Bakit sila Henry C. John Gokong Wei, Alyoshenko, lahat po yan mga halos mag-80 anyos na hanggang ngayon po, sila nagtatrabaho pa. Sila ba'y nagtatrabaho dahil sila kailangan pa nila magtrabaho? Kailangan pa ba nilang kumita? Kailangan pa ba sila ng kumpanya nila? Ang totoo niyan, let me tell you this, my dear students, they are working because they like to work, because they like to be entrepreneurs, because they get this feeling, that this satisfaction of being an entrepreneur. Kaya hindi sila makapagretiro, hindi nila maiwan, doon sila bumabata. Yun ang nagpapabata sa kanila. And I'm telling you, sayang kung hindi niya mararamdaman yung nararamdaman ng isang negosyanteng Pinoy, o isang negosyante, o isang nagsasarili. Napakasarap. Because to me, an entrepreneur is an artist. And you cannot stop an artist. You cannot tell an artist to stop being an artist. You cannot tell John Gokongwei to stop being an entrepreneur. In the same manner as you cannot tell a painter to stop painting, you cannot tell a poet to stop writing poems. You cannot tell a composer to stop composing songs. Pero I tell you, pagka natikman mo na yan, maghihirap ka sa simula para lahat ng problema idadaan sa iyo, itatapos sa daan mo, di-discouraging ka lahat ng tao, papagalitan ka ng magulang mo, sasabihin sa iyo, pagtatawadan ka, maghihirap, may mga oras na hindi ka kakain, may mga oras na wala kang pambayad ng renta, pero pag ikaw naman ay nagtagumpay, yung sarap na mararamdaman mo ay ibang klase. Yung hirap na inabot mo, yan din ang magpapataas ng sarap na iyong mararamdaman pag ikaw ay nagtagumpay bilang isang negosyanteng Pinoy. Yan ay hindi maibibigay anuman na maging pwesto mo sa isang kumpanya, maging ikaw ang maging presidente ng pinakamalaking bangko, hindi mo mararamdaman yan sapagkat hindi pa rin iyo yung bangko. Marami sa atin nalulungkot. Kawawa naman tayo. Baka tayo mag-graduate, wala tayong mapapagtrabahuhan. Huwag nyo kagad iisipin yon. Huwag nyo kagad iisipin na pag hindi kayo nakahanap ng trabaho at magwawakas na ang inyong buhay. Mali yan! Alisin nyo yan sa inyong kaisipan. Maghanap kayo ng mga gagawa. Kung nagtitinda nagtitinda ang inyong nanay, tulungan ninyo, samahan ninyo. Kung nagtitinda ang inyong mga kapatid, samahan ninyo, pag-aralan nyo. Kung may pwesto ang inyong nanay, mag-aral kayo at pagkatapos humanap kayo ng ibang pwesto, magsarili kayo. Magugulat kayo na ang inyong kikitain ay higit pa sa kikitain ng ordinaryo nag-iempleyo. Ba't napakahalaga na ilalagay nyo sa inyong isipan na walang taong hindi kaya yan? Sinabi ko nga sa inyo, bagamat ako'y nagpapatawa lamang na, ay totoo naman yan, hindi kailangan na masyadong matalino rito, hindi kailangan nag-aral ka. Maski hindi ka nag-aral, pwede rito. Maski mahirap ka, pwede rito. Maski may kapansanan ka, pwede rito. Pwede lahat. Kailangan lang. Desidido ka. Kailangan lang may sipag, may tiyaga. Magkakaroon ng pagkakataon na maramdaman itong aking sinasabi ngayon. Na kaya tayo sa Pilipinas, marami nagsasabi sa atin, ano ba ho ang gagawin natin para tayo masenso? My dear students, I'm telling you now that we have tried all kinds of revolution. We have tried the Green Revolution, the Educational Revolution, the Health Revolution, Cultural Revolution, but the one revolution that we have not tried, we don't even want to talk about, the one revolution that can really push this country forward, the entrepreneurial revolution. Yung revolusyon na magyayakag sa ating mga kabataan na magsarili, nagagawa ng army of entrepreneurs na yung mga maliliit na tindero ng balot, tindero ng sampagita, tindero ng kutsinta ay mag-aambisyon, magsasarili, dahan-dahang yayaman, lalaki yung ating ekonomiya. Hindi na tayo magiging dependent sa mga foreign investors. Hindi na tayo parang kawawang nakatingala, naghihintay ng awa ng ibang bansa. Tayo yung magsasarili, babangon po ang ating bayan. Nang maliliit na Pilipino ang makikinabang. Dito po sa ating mga programa, lahat ng programa natin, puro foreign investments, umaasenso ang ating ekonomiya. Subalit yung pangkaraniwang mamamayan ay hindi nakakatikim ng asenso. Kaya ang dapat na economic program natin ay yung economic program o yung programa ng gobyerno na dito nakatuon, paano mo iaangat ang antas ng kabuhayan ng ating mga maliliit? Paano mo itataas ang kabuhayan ng ating nakararaming mga mamamayan? Hindi mahalaga na yumaman ang bansa natin kung ang hindi naman natitikman ng 90% ng ating mga mamamayan. Subalit, ang isang entrepreneurial revolution o pagbabago ng kaisipan natin, lahat ng sambayanan na tayo pwede mag-isa, pwede magsarili, yan po ang isang economic program, yan po ang isang revolusyon na talagang mag-aangat ng antas ng ating kabuhayan at talaga po ang magbabago ng ating mga ekonomiya, magbabago ng ating patakaran, magbabalik ng respeto sa ating bansa. Kaya po, bagamat medyo mahaba na yung aking sinasabi, pumunta ako sa Hong Kong. May nakita akong isang batang babae. Hindi naman masyadong bata. Pero tinanong ko, Nene, Pilipina ka ba? Ang sabi sa akin, unfortunately ho. Sabi ko, bakit naman unfortunately? Kasi Pilipina lang ho ako. Hindi ko makalimutan yung sinabi sa akin ng kabataan na yun. Tuwing maaalala ko yun, ako'y nalulungkot. Unfortunately, naalalaman ko ngayon sa aking pag-ikot na ang isang pinaka-nakakalungkot na nangyayari sa ating bayan at sa ating mga kabataan din ay nawawala na po ang kumpiyansa sa sarili. Dahilan sa sunod-sunod na dagok na inaabot ng ating bayan, sa tuloy-tuloy nating kahirapan, halos lahat po'y nawawala na ng kumpiyansa. Parang pag sinabi mong Pilipino ngayon, nahihiya ka. Iyan po sana, kung meron sana kayong matatanda ngayong gabi, ayun po lang sana ang inyong matandaan sa aking sinabi na kayo po, pag-graduate ninyo, wag niyong iisipin na kayo'y hamak na Pilipino lamang. Alisin niyo po yung kaisipan na yan, itapon niyo yung kaisipan na yan, walang hamak na Pilipino, ibalik niyo ang bilang dangal, balik niyo ang pagmamalaki bilang isang Pilipino, ibalik niyo yung pagmamahal sa ating bayan. Hindi lamang po, iba yung dating na mahal mo yung Pilipino, proud ka pa. Nawawala po yan. Ibalik po ninyo. Ibalik ninyo. Kawawa rin. Kayo rin po ang hindi aasenso. Kayo ang walang magagawa sa inyong kinabukasan pag yan na iniligay nyo sa inyong kaisipan. Tanggalin nyo yan. Throw away this heritage of Hisbolles, this retail mentality. Tapon nyo po yan. Always be proud that you are a Filipino. And I'm telling you, my dear friends, pag po nagbago ng kaisipan ng ating mga kabataan, yung mga darating na henerasyon, magkakaroon po tayo ng entrepreneurial revolution, dadami ang ating maliliit na negosyante Pinoy, lalaki ang ating ekonomiya, at pag nangyari po yan, maibabalik natin ang dangal at respeto ng ating bayan. Magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat. Maraming salamat.
Thank you so much, Senator. At this juncture, we would like to present a plaque of appreciation, sir, for gracing us in this event and for inspiring all of us here in the World Trade Center for the Youth Power 2005. Carlo?
Now
Yes, we
may we
would like
call
to
on
request the PYS leaders to come up on stage. And Sir Arnold. We would like to request the PYS leaders and Mr. Arnold Claviot to come up on stage for a photo op. Again, thank you so much, Senator Manny Villar and Mr. Arnold Clavio, for gracing us in Youth Power 2005.
Hello. The Youth Power event would like to thank Sterling Paper,
Chica Asia Incorporated,
Dot Enable, Nestle Kit Kat, LC Pascual Trading, JRS Express, John Clements Consultancy, Modern Ads and Promo, Listening Group of Company.
yes. And we also would like to announce that in support of the PERA or the Philippine Education Revitalizing Act of Senator Richard Gordon. We will be passing a signature campaign and we hope all of us here would do signing for this support for PERA. Okay. Mga kaibigan, dun po sa signature campaign, kung kailangan niyo po ng mga papel, pwede po kayong humingi o ibalik na yung fill up na campaign form kay James, ang ating head marshal, at po sa iba po mga members ng Marshal Committee. Later, we'll be asking the assistance of James to further explain this support for PERA.
Also, the Asia Pacific Tuna Canning, Lollipop Safety Balloons, Institute for Foreign Study, New Skin or Parmanex, Chris Ann Souvenir, Sara Lee Direct Selling, Bonnie Jeans, Mandan Philippines, Reader's Digest, Dickies, Del Monte Philippines, ALAP Printing Services, and Win Fresh.
We'd like also to thank our radio stations, Joey Rhythms, W Rock, Mellow Touch, and DWTM. Also our official booth contractors, Daynex, and official residence, Atrium Hotel. We would like to call Mr. James, our head for Marshal Committee, to please come up on stage to give us further enlightenment on the support for PERA by Senator Gordon. As may we all request the participants, please take your seats now.
We still have another lecture,
Yes.
which is very informative.
Actually, a part 2. Yeah. Friends, let's pave the way for our guests. They can also proceed to the gate. We request the participants to please take your seats now. Okay. Again, we would like to request that the Youth Power will be an event to support the Philippine Education Revitalizing Act of Senator Richard Gordon. Yung kanina pong in-explain ni Senator, we'll be having a signature campaign now. So there will be papers passing on para po mapirmahan natin. We will be requesting James to further explain this.
Our fellows, please take your seats.
Okay, we ask James, the head marshal, or any marshals to please. Hello? Ayos na po ba tayo? Kailangan na po natin umupo. Upo muna po tayo.
Coming up next,
Wala naman itong halaga sa akin.
Okay.
the Good Witch of the West.
Tayo, no? Para din sa susunod nating speaker, full focus tayo. Okay, let's have a game first. Yeah, let's have a 5-minute break. Let's have a game before we proceed to the last speaker. Kasi importante rin yung speaker natin na yun at kailangan maintindihan natin yung kanyang information na ibibigay. So, kailangan natin ng medyo unwind.
Ito nga yung
Pa-unwind
tinatawag
tayo.
na have a break.
Have a?
Kit Kat.
Okay, kailangan na ba natin ng break? Okay. So, may we ask our game master?
Mr. Pocholo Gonzalez.
So, please come up on stage and let's have a break muna siguro. Para ma-establish natin ang
I just do my
forum
thing
natin.
and disappear like a magician.
She graduated from University of Missouri.
She teaches English as a second language at Japan, South Korea, Israel, US, and Philippines.
Yes, in our country, she teaches and she helps in polishing English, accent reduction, and American culture to call center agents.
She trains the trainers, teaches local English teachers to use communicative methodology in the classroom in order to raise the level of spoken English in the Filipino classroom.
Friends, on her second and final career guidance counseling, we are all happy and we would like to thank her for being with us. Let's all welcome Ms. Rocky Peltzman.
Wow, I wish I was as popular as the senator. And I want to thank the organizers. I spoke yesterday and I received the most beautiful bouquet of flowers I've ever received in my entire life. So thank you to the organizers, guys, and thank you to you for being here. Okay, I'm going to ask a question. How many people sitting here now heard me speak yesterday? Raise your hand. Well, I have a dilemma. The second half of my speech today was to be a little bit more of a kind of a mini lesson on English. But because there's so many more people today, I'm wondering if I should take some of the points from yesterday's talk and then try to throw the grammar in. So anybody have an objection? If you already heard me, maybe guys, you can go out and have a good time for a while, okay? All right, first question. How many here are in high school now? Raise your hand. Okay, not too many right now. Okay, how many are in college or university? Okay. And how many have graduated university already? And how many are old like me? All right, there's a few. I see you. All right. At John Clements, we have enough jobs that we could hire all of you on Monday. In fact, we have thousands of jobs. Thousands of immediate jobs in the call center industry and the BPO industry, which is back office processing. For those of you that don't know what that is, that's when Americans don't want to do the work themselves anymore, like payroll, human resources, managing the welfare of human resources of companies, and they ship it all overseas. Now, the call center jobs, you need English, spoken English. For the BPOs, sometimes you will never speak to an American counterpart, such as an accountant. If you're in accounting, you've virtually got a job, okay? They may have to speak to their counterpart in the home office in the United States, but less so than a call center agent. Now, what I'm going to tell you today is that was the good news. Tons of jobs. In fact, if you're a college senior right now, you should be preparing your resume tonight. Well, if you're partying, you can do it tomorrow. And your picture And you should be speaking English for, I'd say, 2 or 3 days straight, and then come into our office on Wednesday or Thursday ready, so that you can have a job literally the day after you graduate. But the bad news is about the call center industry is that out of every 100 people that we interview, only 3 to 7 get offered a job. Now that's pretty shocking. I don't think a lot of people know that. 3 out of 7 get a job. Basically what happens is, in the oral assessment, which is only 12 or 15 minutes when you come into the office, people don't make the grade. Now, let me give you some good news. The good news is that the oral assessment asks you questions about yourself, open-ended questions, asks you to describe a picture, look at a chart. It has nothing to do with the job. At that point, we don't care what job you want, what you think about call center. Are you excited, not excited? What we want to know is, can you speak English at the level that the call centers need? Now, what level is that? We have a scale of 1 to 7, 7 being a near native speaker, somebody who speaks just about like I do. And I'm not talking about accent here, guys. Accent is not much of a problem in the Philippines, but I will show you a couple of techniques to improve it. The problem is grammar, and the second problem is inability to sustain a conversation. Now let's look at that. What do you mean? Everybody here talks all the time, in the office, to your friends, on your cell phone, at school, outside. You're all speaking to each other. But the problem is really cultural. Americans don't like silence. When we talk, and especially when we're on the phone, and we're calling the call center agents, and we're telling our miserable problem with our computer or our mortgage or our credit card statement, we're always saying, did you get that? Did you hear me? Got that? We constantly need to know that the person on the other end of the conversation has heard and understood what we said. But in Asia, especially in the Far East, Southeast Asia, where we are, people, by not saying anything, are saying, yes, I understand. And unless we go to a video phone call center business industry, that American doesn't know if you understood them or not. Now let me give you, yesterday I mentioned that everybody here has had public speaking in school, correct? Okay, even in high school, yes, you have public speaking class. You have to get up and you have to speak extemporaneously or on an assigned topic for 3 to 10, 15 minutes. But a telephone call isn't a 10-minute monologue. You are question, answer, comment, question, answer, comment, question, answer. And one of the things that we teach, or that I teach when I do training for call center agents, is A, how to respond quickly, even if it's only a sound, like, oh yes, or or really, or I see, and to use stalling techniques when you don't know the answer or how to respond to that comment. Now, what's a stalling technique? Those are actually stalling techniques, but they're very short. For example, and if you watch politicians on TV, they're great at this. While they're trying to think of the answer, they're usually repeating the question. So if your customer says to you, well, tell me, can you fix my computer or not? I'm just tired of talking to so many agents. Well, sir, that's exactly what I'm here for. I'm here to help you find out the answer to that. Let me start by asking you some questions. Now, I just stalled for 3 to 5 seconds. And those are the things that we teach in the classroom, okay? So, one of the things that you can practice with your friends, and in English, and I'll get to that, and I talked a lot about this yesterday, is answering. Instead of keeping silent, shoot back an answer as soon as possible. All right. Let's go and look at the grammar problem. Not all of the things that are said in the Philippines are errors. It's that Filipino English has developed differently than American English. Some things, however, are errors, and I'll get to that in a minute. Something like, if ever I will go there, I will buy you pasalubong. Okay? This is a conditional sentence. It's first conditional. We'll look at that in a minute. But the correct way to say it is, if I go there, I'll buy you pasalubong. So we, when we're teaching, have to undo some Filipino English and substitute it with the correct English. But I'll get to that later. Let's go back and look at how you can prepare yourself to come in to John Clements for your oral assessment. The first thing is, from the minute you leave here tonight, I'll give you the rest of the day to speak Tagalog or Ilonggo or Cebuano, is to speak English all the time. Now what happens is, on my first day of training, I ask my students, it's usually a Monday, so I ask them, on Sunday, yesterday, how many minutes of English did you speak? And many of these people are graduates, recent graduates of college, but they haven't had their first job yet. So maybe they've been 4 months not working. The average answer is 2 to 15 minutes the day before. And by English, I don't mean a half a sentence in English and half a sentence in Tagalog. This is probably one of the things that is harming the advancement of the Philippines in getting these call centers to open up here. Tagalog, or your native tongue, I'm sorry, I'm not going to go into all the dialects, and English must develop parallel. Speak one or the other. If you start in Tagalog, finish in Tagalog. If you start in English, finish in English so that you are practicing the right sentence structure. One of the commercials on TV, it's not exactly a commercial, I believe it's a public service announcement. There's a little girl feeding her doll. Have you seen it? And she says, please eat your vegetables para healthy, and then continues. It's like every child I feel that's watching that is picking up that habit. It's not going to help you guys get jobs, and that's what you're all, I assume that most of you are here for. Okay, stop speaking Tagalog for 48 or 72 hours before you come in for the assessment. Speak to the jeepney driver, the bus driver, the taxi driver, the guy at Figaro's, the guy at Landmark, the guy selling coffee outside, to everybody. And if they don't answer you back in English, that's okay. That's all right. Don't cave in. If you're walking around the mall tomorrow, people are going to laugh at you. When they hear English, they're going to look over and they're going to snicker. I'm sorry. This is what my students tell me when I'm training. Guess what? My students have jobs that are 5-figure, 15,000 pesos an hour, a month. You wish, we wish, right. Sorry. 15 grand a month. It's worth it for them to be out there speaking English while they're training with me for 2 weeks. But I'm trying to get you guys in the door first. Okay, next thing. I hope nobody's here from any of the newspapers or any of the television stations. Turn off the local TV. Start watching American English programs. You must build your listening skills. Even if you don't have cable, you've got Smallville, you've got Ally McBeal, you've got Crossing Jordan, you've got Will and Grace, you've got The West Wing on Monday night. What else do I watch on Channel 23 and 15, RPN? You have a million shows. If you have cable, you have Etc. with the Today Show and the Jay Leno Show and Conan O'Brien. You will pick up and improve your grammar, A, by by listening carefully, and B, also hearing regional accents. Watch CNN. I'm not going to tell you to watch BBC because that's British. Watch CNN. You hear accents from all over the world, because if you want to be a call center agent or you want to be a medical transcriptionist, how many of you here are majoring in or have a degree in biology, chemistry, physical therapy, what else? Any of the nursing, any of the medical related. We need 500 medical transcriptionists immediately. And guess what? They have to be able to listen better to English than to speak it. Immediately we need these people. It's a great paying job, and you don't have to deal with wacko American customers like in a call center. Okay, where was I? Turn off the Tagalog television before you come in for the assessment. Stop reading the local newspapers. Now, the local news in English is very good. I often watch Channel 23, the news at night, also in the early evening. Their English is fantastic. But all those other shows that you're watching, half a sentence English, half a sentence in Tagalog. If you have cable and you're getting ready in the morning to go out, whether it's to work or for a job interview, or you're helping your family get breakfast together, and you have cable, turn it on CNN. Catch a few minutes of the local news because it's important. But turn it on CNN and listen to American English as it's spoken in real context. The newspapers, they're full of mistakes, guys. I'm sorry to say it. How many here have access to the internet for free? Raise your hand. How many have it for pay? Okay. If you can go to a friend, you can go to a relative, if you can go to school, take a diskette, open up NewYorkTimes.com, WashingtonPost.com, LATimes.com, Time Magazine, I think it's Time, anything. Find articles about America or anything, or the Philippines. Copy, paste, save them, take them home, or print them out and take them home. If you want to see how Americans use prepositions, how they use the conditionals, how they use idioms, you've got to read authentic texts. Many words that you use here are not used by Americans. We'll look at a few of those later. The one I gave yesterday was re-electionist. Re-electionist is not an American English word. We use the word incumbent. Okay, a lot of other things, but we'll get to that in a minute. Now, why is it so important that you put away your native dialect for 48 or 72 hours? Because if you think in another language, you're not going to speak your second language correctly. I gave you an example yesterday. I'm going to give it again. I had one trainee. He had already worked in another call center for 9 months. He was coming again for 5 days. No American culture, just polishing English. And he went to Mindanao, and I asked him who he went with, and he said he went with a brother, and I said, which brother? Because I knew he had about 6 or 7 siblings. And he said, the brother that I follow. And I went, what? I mean, I knew what he meant. And he said, oh, I'm translating. He was translating. I don't know if he was translating from Visayan or he was translating from Tagalog, but I would say I went with my immediate elder brother. That means the one that was born right ahead of me. And this was somebody who had already been working in English for 9 months. So without even realizing it, you're translating. And when you translate, there are errors. No two languages are the same. When we interview, when we do the oral assessment and we ask questions, we can see, it's almost like I can see the gears working. Click, 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 click. Translating in nanoseconds into English. but too often it comes out wrong. Okay, let's look at some of the errors, and I hope my slide presentation is going to work. Can we see if the slides will come up, please, now? It is? Okay. It's going to take 1 second. Okay, before we start with the simple past, let's look just for a minute at some pronunciation things. If you have a piece of paper in front of you, a loose piece, I want you to put it in front of your mouth like this. Whoops. Guys, just one piece. If it's 2 pieces, it may not work. Okay, now what I want you to do is watch what happens to the edge of the paper when I pronounce verbs in the simple past. I don't know, it's going to make noise, I know. Ate, slept, wanted, wrote, bought. If this paper doesn't move, you're not pronouncing the T as the American T. Okay, let's try it again. What? Bought, ate, wanted. I have to think of some words. Slept, swept. Do you see how it moves? Okay. That's called the American T. Okay, why is it so important? Let's look at why it's so important. It has to do with the simple past tense. I meant to tell you that I think that for some of you over here, your view is going to be blocked of the slides. Okay. This is what happens in our assessment. Most of the time, many times, unfortunately, in the simple past tense, right then and there we know that this person cannot be, will or can or cannot be a call center agent. We ask people, what did you do yesterday between 3 in the afternoon and 10 o'clock at night? People who are a 5-, remember that a 7 is a native speaker. Shh, can I ask for quiet, guys, please? I'm trying, this is not written down because I did that yesterday and I don't want to repeat it exactly the same way. I've got to, okay. People who are 5- may or may not be endorsed onto the client, to the call center. A 4+ will not be. Now here's what happens. We quite often get this response. 3 o'clock, okay. 3 o'clock, I watch TV, I take a shower. At 6 o'clock, I make dinner. And then I ask, well, what did you have for dinner? I eat fish and rice. And then I ask, what did you do after dinner? I watch TV, I brush my teeth, I take a shower, I go to sleep. Nowhere did I use in the answers just now the past simple tense. You will not be endorsed onto the client unless you get that right. Now, sometimes the problem is that the person is using the simple past, but they're not pronouncing the T or D sound at the end of the past simple verb. That's where that little exercise comes in. Because here, your tongue stops at the back of your teeth and the upper palate on your T, the American listener doesn't hear it. And therefore they think you don't know grammar, when that's not true. So that's why that T, American T, explosive T, is so important when you're in the oral interview. It lets us assessors know that you know how to use the simple past tense. Now, one of the most common errors that the call centers say that agents make is, when did you bought that model? Like a computer or whatever. Let me repeat that. When did you bought that model? So this is one of the things that we do. There's some example questions on the slide. The correct way is, examples are, why did she call the teacher? What did Serena and Gary want to find out? What happened? How long did they talk to Mrs. Peters? When did you buy that model? So let's look at the chart to see how we make questions in the simple past tense. As an agent or a BPO worker, you will be constantly asking questions. First column is the question word, or what we call in English teachers call the WH words. Who, what, when, where, why, how long, how much, how far. Then you have the auxiliary verb. It could also be called the helping verb, to do. That gets the past tense. Then you have the subject or a pronoun. The main verb, if you note, doesn't have ed. It goes back into the root form, or what we teachers like to call for simplification, V1. And then there may be additional information in the question. So to say that correctly, it's what did they want? But many of our people that we interview say, what did they wanted? How long did Molly look for her? Who did they argue with? Now, if it's not, and it's just a yes or no question, if it's not a WH question, did she leave on time? Many times people say, did she left on time? Were you ready to leave? That's the verb to be. Again, sometimes our people coming in for assessment are grammatically correct, but we don't hear the D. Okay, let's look at the next slide, please. If you look on the right side, the samples, I hope you can see in bold how you make it again. Your WH did, the auxiliary verb goes into the simple past, and the root verb stays in the root form. How long did you wait for me? Not how long did you waited for me. Why did you wait for me? Not why did you waited for me. If we look at the exercises, I think I have 4 here. This is what we do in the training. This is a situation in Cambodia. I have a sister who worked in Cambodia. You're supposed to read the answer and make up the question. But unlike school, we don't write in my lessons. We only talk. And this is one of the other things I do. I train teachers. I train teachers to take the materials that you have and teach them how to actually put you together in pairs or small groups in high school classes, in college classes, so that you are speaking, having a conversation. So instead of writing the answer, the student has to think up the answer, and the partner says, the question, and the partner says the answer. So if the answer is, my sister lived in northern Cambodia, what could be a question here? Anybody want to volunteer? I think there's microphones out there. Okay, the correct question is, where did your sister live? Or, what part of Cambodia did your sister live in? Not live on. We'll talk about prepositions in a minute. Next question. She lived there for 2 years. Somebody said it right. How long did she live there? Not how long did she lived there. She was an English teacher. Here you have many questions you could ask. What was her job? What did she do there? How did she make a living? Next one. Yes, she had a lot of students. Now this is a yes-no question, so we don't start out with a WH question, word, do we? Excuse me. Did she have a lot of students? Not did she had a lot of students. Okay, let's go on. Next slide. Prepositions of place. We learn so many prepositions. They're confusing. There are a few rules, and there's just as many exceptions to the rules, and you have to memorize every single one as if it's an idiom. It's a drag, guys. You know what? Sometimes I'm just glad I was born in America just so I didn't have to learn this language. Let's look at 3. In, at, and on. Big, big, big differences here and in the States. In a room, in a building, in a box. You can look at the pictures. I'll read the sentences. There's no one in the office. There's no one in the building. There's no one in the park. What's that in your hand? What's that in your mouth? When we were in Utah, we spent a few days in Provo, not at Provo. Your prize includes a cabin in a small town in the mountains. Children are not allowed to swim in the pool. Now let's look at the difference. Look where the X is on these 3 diagrams. There's a person standing at a crossroads or an intersection. There's an X on the bottom right and the top middle page of the notes of the music sheets, and there's an X at the end of Main Street. Who is that standing at the intersection? Who's that standing at the door? Turn left at the stoplight, or turn left at the museum. Sign your name at the top of the page. The travel agency is the red building at the end of the street. Next slide, please. Now let's look at on. You have to imagine that square I made is inside of a room, that we're kind of looking into a room. On the roof of the house, on the door, on the floor, on the wall. The X is on her cheek and the X is on the page. Actually, it's on the binder ring. I sat on the floor. I sat on the grass. I sat on a chair. And I sat on the beach and watched the sunset. There's a smudge on your nose. Have you seen the sign on the board on the door? Let's go down and compare in and at. There were a lot of people in the shop. It was very crowded. But go down this road, then turn left at the bakery. Now, what's happened is so many differences have taken root here in the Philippines. Yesterday I gave the example. Please don't throw your tissues on the toilet. Throw them in the basket. In American English, we have to use in for both. Anytime something is a container and it has walls, even if it's flat, like a square, you mark your X in the box on the paper. Look at the next page, you'll see what I mean. Excuse me, next slide, please. Compare in and on. There is some cola in the bottle, because a bottle has sides, but there is a label on the bottle, because it's on the outside. Compare at and on. Can you get that? The delivery man is at the door. But in a hotel, put the make up the room sign on the door, will you? Because most of the time, when we have a flat surface, like that extinguisher over there, or the fire hose, I guess it is, the fire hose is on the wall. Most times, but there's exceptions. All right, let's look at a couple of exercises. You have to take the expressions in bold, the balcony, her guitar, your tea, the river, etc. Put them in these 5 sentences with the correct preposition. I'll just give you 30 seconds to choose one sentence. Do it in your head. Just choose one sentence. You guys might want to move over here. If you do, we'll wait for you. Oh, sorry, you're on the wrong slide. Please go back. Go back one, please. Thank you. Sorry. Okay. Choose one sentence, find the correct expression, and then put in, at, or on. Okay, I'm going to give you the answers. Swimming in the river isn't recommended. It's polluted. The lead guitarist broke one of the strings on her guitar. On. If you are leaking oil, stop at the next garage. Would you care for lemon in your tea? The flowers on that bush are gorgeous. How many got them right? Okay. Next one. Next slide, please. We're there. Prepositions of time. Many times I hear people say, I was born on 1965. On, in. Let's look at the chart and you can see which expressions get at, which get on, and which get in. You know, sometimes I have students in my training who say, Rocky, we didn't even know there were rules. Well, here they are. And I'll bet you've got them in some of your grade school or junior high school grammar books. And if you don't have a grammar book, go to the internet. Everything is on the internet. You can learn everything about English. You can do online exercises. You can do pronunciation exercises like that T exercise I did with you. Okay, let's look at some of the common mistakes. The next slide, please. All right, don't forget to use a preposition. Incorrect. I was born 10:30 p.m. I was born at 10:30 p.m. Don't use at or on with years. Incorrect. I was born at 1969. I was born on 1969. Correct. I was born in 69. Use on even if the exact date is not mentioned. Incorrect. I went to the dentist in my day off. Correct. I went to the dentist on my day off. So even though I don't say it's Friday or Monday, it's a day. And I still have to use on. And don't forget the exception to parts of the day at night. Everything else is in the morning. In the morning, in the evening, in the afternoon, but at night. Incorrect. Change of plans. Our sales meeting is taking place in the night. Correct. Change of plans. Our sales meeting is taking place at night. Next one, please. Next slide. Test yourself. Okay, there's about 10 sentences here. Just pick one sentence. You want to give the answers? Are the mics up? Okay, let's go. She was hired on, all right, January 15th. Our sales group likes to go out for lunch. Wednesday, on the first, on the first Wednesday of the month. You have to meet Vince at the bank. Thank you. English training starts and ends. Got it. He is at a week-long conference in South Bend, Washington. He'll be tied up in the mornings and afternoons. And that doesn't mean tied to the bed, guys, you know. Okay. The contract will expire at midnight on Wednesday. Yes, just a note. When somebody, an American says to you, I'll meet you at noon at Starbucks, it means 12 noon. Okay? We really mean that. Maybe 5 minutes before, 5 minutes after, but noon is not a whole hour to an American. Okay? Agent orientation will take place. I wake up at 7. I left my house this evening. When I returned, I had a message that our morning production meeting would be. The Dell delivery man arrived in. I was born in 1970. I was born on a Friday. I was born at 6:40 a.m. on a Friday. All right. Now we have another thing that's really different. In fact, I'm going to ask the computer techies to please jump to the last two slides, which is 14 and 15. Can we do that? Slides 14 and 15. No, keep going, keep going, keep going. Go, go, go. That's it. Okay. If you look at the title, it says Standard American English versus Filipino English. These are some of the expressions that people use here, that we use here, which are okay for use here, but not with an American. Let's look at the differences. All the staffs should take lunch at 12 o'clock. On the right, you have the American version, all the staff. Now, this is called non-count and count nouns. Many nouns in English, in American English, cannot have an S put on them. But here you do. Let's go on. Avail the item. And since a lot of the calls of the call center agents are outbound, they're selling a product or service, or even if you are a customer service rep, you might want to offer an item to the customer who's already purchased a computer, for example. Americans don't use that expression very much. And if they do, we say, please avail yourself of the item, but usually we say, take advantage of this sale item. Next one, a batch is a class. We use batch for cookies. You know, I baked a batch of chocolate chip cookies, but an American will understand you. A chit is a bill. Come again is, could you repeat that, please? Cope up with has a preposition that we don't need in America, and we just say cope with. I couldn't cope with all my English homework. The CR, of course, is bathroom, restroom, or washroom. Discuss about the proposal. We don't need the preposition about, so we say, we discussed the proposal at the meeting. Don't shout to me, don't yell to me, is don't shout or yell at me. There's another preposition difference. Next one, I don't think you're going to need for a job, but you never know. Eat all you can. Restaurant in America is all you can eat. Every now and then in the Philippines means often in American English. This was very strange for me to discover, that when I say I go to the movies every now and then, it means about once every 6 weeks. But my friends, my Filipino friends, says that means quite often, like once every 10 days. So there's a difference here in adverbs of frequency. Next one, equipments. In American English, equipment is also, it's a non-count noun. You can't put an S on it. So I love all the sports equipment at my gym. I can't say equipments. Fill up the form is either fill in the form or fill out the form. For a while, Americans really don't know what you mean by that, is hold on a moment, please, or just a second. Furnitures, again, cannot be counted. If ever it happens, this is first conditional. We'll get to that in a minute. It's near to the church. In American English, we don't need the preposition to, so it's just near the church. It's so traffic. Traffic may sound like an adjective, but it's not. Traffic is a noun. So we have to say there is a lot of traffic, or there's not so much traffic today. I will be the one to do that. There's nothing incorrect grammatically with this, but Americans would just say, I'll do it. Jewelries cannot be made plural in American English. Office mate is correct. Americans will understand you, but we usually say colleague or coworker. On leave. Now that's very interesting, the difference. We say take a day off from work, or be on sick leave, or I'm on vacation. In America, to be on leave is usually for very long, 1 week to 6 months or a year, that you ask permission from your employer to not come to work, usually because somebody's sick in the family, and you probably don't get paid for it. Or maybe people take leave from their work and go work in Africa helping charity organizations. So here you say on leave, just for what we say, I took a day off from work. And if you guys are watching American TV, I know you know this. Okay. Open or close the computer. We can't say that in American English. We have to say turn on or off. Next slide. Next one. Pass the paper to. We have to say submit or hand in the paper. Pass the phone to me. We say hand the phone to me, please. Push through a transaction or push through a meeting. It's complete a transaction if it's financial. But if we're talking about a meeting, we just say the meeting will take place on Monday. A ref is a fridge, but that's probably, well, you could be a customer service representative for a refrigerator company. So, reply back by Monday is redundant. It's reply by Monday. Reply means back. Training is not an adjective, a noun that we can count. So she has 2 trainings this morning would be she has 2 training sessions, or 2 training seminars, or 2 training workshops. This is a modal problem, the next one. You should clean the contact points once a month. Americans are very direct people. When you need to do something, they tell you. So if you are a service technician on the phone and your client, your customer needs to clean the points, you can't say you should. Should means it's a good idea. If it's something you have to do, just tell an American. You must clean the contact points once a month. Thank you very much for those informations. Information cannot be counted, so we can't make it plural with an S. Thank you very much for the information. The transaction did not push through, like a credit card. The transaction was incomplete or was turned down by the credit card company. A toilet is a restroom or a bathroom, although it is true that if you're traveling throughout the world, the word toilet is universally known nowadays. So if you're going to Botswana, you better say, whose stuffs is this on my desk? Stuff is a non-count noun. We can't put an S in American English. And for people who answer Pizza Hut's call centers, quite often they say, would you like to add with extra cheese? Whoops, that's redundant. Would you like extra cheese? Okay, can I go back now? I hope you'll remember where that was. to count and non-count nouns. Well, guess what? We're just about ready to run out of time here. Can I go back to the conditionals instead? I think that's going to be number 10. Slide number 10. No, too far. Go ahead, 2, please. Next one. There, stop. Okay, if ever I will go to India, I will eat curry. Okay, that's called the first conditional. It's up there now. The form is if plus present simple in the if clause, and the future, simple future, in the result clause. If you call the 1-800 number, an agent will answer. If you deposit $1,000 by 5 p.m., your account will earn more interest. This is used for real situations. If it rains tonight, I will bring an umbrella. Not if ever it rains, I will bring an umbrella. Now, there's 2 sentences up there. Try to do them now in your head. Some people are thinking. Okay, we have to hurry. If I have to, I will complain to the manager. The next one is, will you cover for me if I'm late? Second conditional, what the heck is that? Let's look at the form. It's if plus the past simple in the if clause. If you called the 1-800 number, the result is either would, could, or might plus V1. Remember, V1 is the root form of the verb. If you called the 1-800 number, you would get an answer. If you lived in a big city, you would have access to more entertainment. We use the second conditional for a situation that's possible but not probable. What do I mean? If I'm talking to someone living in a village in the mountain provinces, and I say, you know, if you lived in a big city, you would have access to more entertainment. It's very possible that this will happen, okay? Anybody can move from a village to Manila or Baguio. But I don't think it's going to happen because this person is a farmer. So I use the second conditional to express that I don't think it's really going to happen. Let's look at the first sentence. If the department head have a heart, he authorized a bonus. How would we make that into a second conditional sentence? Past simple, and then would, could, might plus V1. If the department head had a heart, he would authorize a bonus. Now those 2 conditional sentences are a piece of cake compared to the next one. Next slide, please. The third conditional. This one, even Americans make mistakes with it, but just so you know what it is, let's look at it real quickly. It's also called the unreal conditional because we can't go back in history and change things. If plus past perfect in the if clause, and would, could, might plus the perfect infinitive, and nobody knows what that is, so we call it verb 3. This is somebody who's complaining. Oh, my computer doesn't work. Well, if you had called the 1-800 number, you would have gotten an answer. But you didn't, so now you're complaining. Next one. You're older, you grew up You didn't see all those good movies from the 60s and 70s. So what do I say to my friend? Well, if you had grown up in a big city, you would have had access to more varied entertainment. But you can't go back and change history. So this is called the unreal conditional. And it really is difficult. The grammar is tough. We'll just look at one example here. The words I give are, if I be born a year earlier, I have to do military service. To make that a third conditional sentence, I would say, if I had been born a year earlier, I would have had to do military service. But thank goodness I was born in whatever, 73, whatever. Okay, those are the conditionals. But it's up to a good teacher to take all those things that I taught you today, or that you reviewed, and show you how to do them in the classroom so that when you come in for the assessment, you are full of confidence and you get the grammar right. And that's what I urge you to do. I said this yesterday and you laughed, but I'm going to say it again. If you want to speak better English, go back to school on Monday and quietly tell your teachers, and especially your English teacher, that you want to be corrected in class. I'm not talking about corrected on paper. We're talking about spoken English. And if your teacher refuses to do it, go above them. Go to the principal and say, you know, Mrs. So-and-so, I asked my English teacher to correct me because I plan on getting a job where I know I'll need spoken English. And she or he refuses. Could you talk to the teacher and say, look, if the student wants to be corrected, why not? If you're in college and your teachers won't correct you, go to the dean, go to your guidance counselor, and say, I'm not going to make it. I may have the right degree. I may have a finance degree. I may have an accounting degree. I may have a computer science degree. I may have a business administration degree. But I don't think I'm going to cut the mustard when it comes to the oral assessment in English. Ask your friends to correct you. Speak with your barkada when you leave, when you go to Figaro's, when you go out, when you have the dance tonight. Speak in English. And ask your friends, please, please correct me. If you have relatives that have come back from working overseas, or are American, or British, or Australian for that matter, ask them to correct you and only speak in English. Does anybody have a question? This is your chance to ask the English teacher. We don't want to supplant your native tongue with English. We want them to grow parallel and both of them to be correct. And we want to hire you. That's it. Anybody have a question? No. Did you learn anything today? Or did you review something that you hadn't seen for a long time? All right. Are you going to speak English starting tomorrow morning? Great, guys. I hope I see you at John Clements next week.
So much, Miss Rocky. Hello, are you still there? Okay. Okay. Alam ko, medyo gutom na ba? Oo. Ako rin gutom na actually. Okay. Right after that we have a break, magkakaroon tayo ng youth dance concert competition. And then, yung ating youth concert. Andito ba kayo mamaya? Walang uuwi walang uuwi, lahat tayo magstay para for the competition at para sa ating partner. Akala ko umuwi ka na saan ka galing?
Diyan lang. Para din sa mga participants or yung mga competing groups for the dance competition,
pakibigay na lang po sa amin yung inyo pong mga CD tapes or yung inyo pong mga CD na gagamitin natin for your performance.
Okay. Yung pong mga pumirma at hindi pa nakakapirma sa ating signature campaign, huwag niyo pong kalimutang pumirma. Kailangan po yung mga autographs. At yung pong huling-huling pipirma, pakibigay po yung napirmahan na yon sa akin na lang po. Please approach me dito po sa may backstage. Mga kapatid, sige, pwede na muna tayong kumain. Let's have 15 to 20 minutes. Kaya nyo ba yon? O habaan pa natin? 20 minutes. O sige, pero balik na kayo agad.
Okay. I'll take the stage again. We're very sorry about that. I think they are going to dance song number 2 from the CD. Song number 2 from the CD. Okay.
Alright.
Ganito talaga, no, Ian? I'm sorry,
Oo,
no?
sanay na
Pag live talaga. the Cagayan Dancers. Thank you very much.
Galing.
Wow.
Isa pa po palakpakan para sa Cagayan Dancers. Galing, no?
Ay,
Thank
kala ko
you.
kasama tayo, Ian.
Thank you,
Okay
thank
pala
you.
yun, no? Ian, no? Okay pala yun,
Ah,
no?
sige, bye-bye.
Okay.
Halika dito.
Ikaw talaga.
Alright.
Okay. Well,
Magaling,
before we go on
grabe.
to the group number 2, meron tayo, of course, this Youth Power Dance Competition. We have criteria for judging.
Criteria for judging. Alright. Siyempre, originality, which speaks of uniqueness and distinguishing factor, 30 points.
Yan. Choreography, of course, that's 30 points.
Choreography, 30 points. Stage presence, which speaks of projection and interpretation, 20 points.
Costume, 10 points.
Ganon dapat yan. Costume.
Oh,
Diba? Okay.
Kasama yan.
10
Package.
points. Audience impact. Ay, walang audience, walang nanonood.
10 points.
Iyan ang audience impact. Alright, so total of 1,000 points.
100 lang, Ian. 100 lang.
Hilo na tayo. Okay?
And also, we would like to thank
Thank you.
.enable.com, .my.stir for providing us the photo wall.
O, palakpakan natin ang .enable.com.
For the photo wall.
So, yung mga nagpa-picture kanina doon,
Lalabas yung, lagot
lumabas.
sila, wanted yan eh.
Wanted yung mga yan. Diretso po ng Mandaluyong sa kanang Bilibid, yung mga lumabas po dyan.
Okay.
Okay?
Ian,
Nag-picture taker para may remember, no?
we're now going on
The second
to the Youth
group.
Power Dance Fest.
Yes.
We would like to call on group
Alright.
number 2.
Ito, ang daming delegate nito eh. From PUP Santa Mesa.
Ladies and gentlemen, the dance floor is now open.
Right about now, massive and crew. You don't know, say I jump and pass through. All right, now we have the biggest group singers there right now. Brand new to the market. Mr. Everybody worldwide. Get used to that group, yeah. You don't know. So right now, girls.
Nobody does the way you ride it, girl.
Well, let the ladies there.
Ooh, nobody does make the fellas go the way you ride it, girl. Make the fellas go. Roll up in the club, looking fly. Made your first approach, then caught his eye. Slowly moved your way towards the dance floor. Grab her hand and she whispered, "Hold my cotton you. Stand behind me, let me grind you. My lips, I'm probably feeling you. I'ma make it go. Ooh, your body, girl. Make the fellas go the way you ride it, girl. Make the fellas go. Ooh, your body, girl. Make the fellas go the way you ride it, girl. Make the fellas go. Whoa.
Dirty South, and y'all really feel me. East Coast feel me. West Coast feel me. Say what? Dirty South, here we go.
Is it my girl? Is it your girl? Sometimes I'm good, good. Right now I'm not enough. Was I so bad? Listen. Baby, don't you wanna dance up on me? Sexy, another time it makes. Oh baby, don't you wanna dance up on me? Are you ready? Think of the harmony in the mix. Let's go. Like that. You like that? Yeah. Now watch me.
Sa gitna ng karagatan ay umaaling puno at muling umupang sa pasimula ng tadhana. Ang muling paglalaya at sila ang WSP 23.
De la cabeza, el ritmo del DJ.
Malantela, ha? Malantela ngayon.
Okay, sandali. Pakiabot yung mga wales. Nagkalat kayo. Nagkalat sa stage.
Okay, thank you. Wow, Ian.
Galing, galing.
That's what we call showcase.
Yun talaga, no? Minedling
Youth
nila.
Power also is a showcase of talents.
Galing. So, from parang tribal dance, naging modern, naging tsokolate, naging chocolate. Binanggit ba yung KitKat? Kasi ano eh,
Dapat nabanggit,
sponsor
no?
yun eh.
Have a break! Have a... Ako, dapat mas malakas mamimigay yata.
Have a break! Have a... Okay, so... Sige, practicein nyo yan. Pag may nasasalubong kayong tindahan, have a break, have a KitKat. Ganun
Yan,
yun.
dapat yan ang sinasabi nyo.
Okay?
We'll
Next.
proceed. Okay?
Sino ang third contestant? May school, may province.
Oo.
This
I think
time,
this is an organization.
they belong to one of the organizations.
Oo.
So, inopen natin sa lahat. to.
Inopen natin talaga lahat.
Okay.
As we call on, and they will give them a round of applause.
To the Batang Mama.
Group number 3.
Ano? Batang Mama.
Batang Mama.
Basta
Ha?
Susunod na palabas ay mula sa orihinal na sari at hamisip ng mayatang. Ang panggagaya o pamangopya ng walang kahulugan tulad sa anumang bahagi ng sari ito ay may higpit na ipinagbabawal ng batas.
Iba-iba ang papel ng tao sa mundo. Ang papel ko, panatilihin ng katahimikan sa loob. Ayusin mga bilanggo. Malaman nilang sila'y mga tao pa rin. Ipaglaban ng karapatang ibinigay ng Diyos sa kanila. Ang karapatang mabuhay.
Sa mga manonood, mangyari lamang ay saksihan at tunghayan ang makabagong likha ng mga taong walang magawa. At sa inyong masayang panonood, mangyari lamang ay gumalaw-galaw at baka pumanaw. Kaya't ngayon ay ating tunghayan ang kalokohan ng mga batang mama.
Sayaw kikay, sayaw kikay. Sayaw kikay, sayaw kikay. Sayaw kikay, sayaw kikay. La 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 la. La 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 la. Sakay na!
Wow. Ian, kaya mo ba yun?
Galing. Kaya
Kaya
pala,
mo.
batang mama, bata pa lang po sila, na preso na sila. So yan po ang mga juvenile delinquent na...
Hindi.
Hindi.
Galing.
Okay, very talented youth group.
Iba, no? Iba yung
from a
dating
community-based
yung first
organization.
natin.
Galing,
Tapos,
variety talaga.
Ibang klase.
We need to give them a background. Originally, we intended to have a separate song and dance interpretation, or should we say cultural dance from the hip-hop. But since uso na po yon sa mga dance contest, kahit hip-hop ang kanta, pop, modern, hinahaluan po nila ng mga cultural at nagiging variety siya.
Oo, kaya nga, actually, pero yung song and dance interpretation, we had it last night.
Okay, may nag-champion.
Oo, mamaya makikita nyo yung nanalo, yung performance nila.
Okay.
Also, we would like to tell you our guidelines for this competition.
Ito yung naging guidelines namin.
This is open to everyone, 13 to 21 years old. So from school, high school, university, and youth organizations.
And of course, definitely the group shall be composed of 15 members, all male, all female,
Oo,
or
actually 6 to 15
mixed.
yan.
Okay.
Each dance number, dapat at least 3 minutes lang siya, but not more than 8 minutes.
So kapag sumobra po doon, may konting
may konting
deduction
deduction.
yon. Okay? Scores from the elimination last January 28 shall not be considered in the finals. Of course, this is a separate competition. Finalists, each group shall be judged accordingly based on their performance tonight.
Right
now. And of course,
Okay, the groups
yun
with
na
the
yan.
highest points, of course, we're going to get the champion group, the first runner-up and second runner-up, and we're giving away.
May idea kayo magkano pa premyo namin first prize? Magkano? 50,000 ang baba? Baka mag-abono kayo, John. Okay, first prize natin is 10,000 pesos.
Our runner-ups get 5,000 for the first runner-up, and second runner-up goes with 3,000.
3,000. Okay, so we have 4 more left. Okay, after that, Ian, announce na natin. Tuloy-tuloy itong showcase ating ngayong gabi. We'll be having a dual player tending
This is
competition.
bartending, pero ang i-judge natin dito yung kanilang flares and juggling.
Yung skills nila.
Oo,
And
so-
after that, tuloy-tuloy tayo sa concert.
Then, let's go on. Group
To the
number
third
4.
group. Pumipiyo ka pa. Oh, di ba? Galing mo
Wala
talaga,
na akong
Ian.
boses eh.
Tawagin natin ang Teatro
Marino!
Live!